fucking time-wasting bastards is what first-time buyers are also known as by estate agents. And if you are a first-time buyer watching this video to work out how to give yourself the best chance of getting the home that you want, you need to start off by realizing that in the eyes of estate agents, first-time buyers are more than likely fucking time-wasting bastards. Just the thought of doing this video makes me need a Guinness. For those of you who are new to my channel, I'm Charlie Lamdin. This is Moving Home with Charlie, and I've got 25 years of experience in the property industry to share with people moving house, because my mission is to make moving home easier for everybody. I've never been an estate agent, but I have had estate agents as my clients for over 20 years, and there is nothing I don't know about how estate agents operate. And with that in mind, the purpose of this video is to help not only first-time buyers, but also the agents that you are hoping to buy from have an easier process to reaching an agreed purchase of a property that's for sale. Many of you watching this will already be aware of the fact that as a first-time buyer, you are in competition with lots of other people for the properties that you're looking at. Now, exactly when you're watching this video, I don't know, and the market varies, of course, but the following tips, which you won't hear anywhere else, are going to improve your chances of securing the home that you want. For lots of reasons, including the fact that there aren't enough houses, securing a home, your first home, is a big challenge, all right? Now, most first-time buyers won't watch this video and won't know these tricks, and will probably end up overpaying for a property that they don't love, as well as being taken for a ride along the way on their mortgage, on their survey, on their conveyancing. I'm here to help you navigate that process and make it a bit easier and improve your chances of not being ripped off along the way. Let me start by giving you the estate agent's perspective on first-time buyers, okay? Now, the first thing that you need to know as a first-time buyer is that estate agents do not work for you. Estate agents work for and are paid by the sellers of the properties that they are listing. They are engaged by those sellers almost always on a no sale, no fee basis, which means that they are working for nothing unless they get the property sold. So they're never on your side, and that's okay. You're not paying them. You are there to buy the properties they've got for sale, but most estate agents and most sellers have a choice of buyers. If not, if you're the only buyer on a property, well, then you're in a really, really good position. But generally speaking, you will be up against other buyers. And it's not about who offers the most money. There's a long list of things that the agents will consider when deciding which offers to recommend that the seller accepts when it comes to selling their property. So listen carefully, first-time buyers, you fucking time-wasting bastards. I have spent 20 years providing estate agents with something called a CRM system, Customer Relationship Management Systems, effectively a customer database. Okay, a database of properties and a database of buyers, or properties and tenants as well, because it's sales and lettings. And what I know is that each individual estate agency negotiator will typically have as many as 250 registered buyers, registered to that one individual negotiator, all right? Now just let that sink in. They're talking to 250 of you, typically. Now, what I know, because they used my systems to manage their communications with all these buyers, is that typically speaking, off the top of their head, they were only dealing with about 10 buyers out of that list of 250, whom they considered to be what they called hot applicants. Okay, so you are an applicant. If you are a buyer or a tenant, you are, in agency speak, you are an applicant, all right? And what you want to be is you want to be taken, or you want to be considered as a hot applicant. Because if you're a hot applicant, that means you are on the forefront of that agent's mind. Out of the 250 people that's registered with them, you want to be in that top 10, the ones that they're taking most seriously. So your objective as a first-time buyer, you fucking time-wasting bastards, I'm going to keep saying that because it's a valid point, is to not be considered as a fucking time-wasting bastard, right? To be considered as one of the people that is not a time waster. something that you never read in the press is that the biggest problem estate agents have is having their time wasted again and all day, every day, repeatedly, all day, every day. Not only by movers, by the way, but also by people trying to sell estate agent stuff, estate agency suppliers who are ringing their phone. 50% of the phone calls that estate agents get are from other companies trying to sell them stuff that they don't want or need. So estate agents have their time wasted all day, every day. And what they're looking for and what it is in your interests to be is that rare thing, which is a buyer who is not a time waster. Remember, they don't earn anything unless you actually end up purchasing a property. They don't get paid to take you on viewings. Yes, they mostly got a basic salary, but they don't earn any more or less whether they do or don't show you a property. So you want to be a buyer that they want to show a property because they think you're A, going to like it, and B, actually are in a position to buy it if you do like it. Yes, there are times when they will take you around to show you a property that they know you're not interested in because they just have to, because they want to get their clients happy, to say, look, we've got people coming to see your property. That is true, that does happen, but good agents won't do that so much. Okay, so objective number one, make sure that you're not a fucking time-wasting bastard. Make sure that you are a qualified first-time buyer. So how do you do that? Any buyer that shows an agent that they have some understanding of the process, in other words, you treat the agents with respect as a fellow human being doing a difficult job, okay, is automatically going to be taken more seriously. Secondly, it always pays to have your proof of your financial situation up front, okay? Now, there is also another expression amongst estate agents, which is buyers are liars. And the most typical lie is, yes, we've got our deposit funds, they're already in the bank ready to go. And the number of people who say that when it's not true is amazing. And so estate agents will have a healthy dose of suspicion about anything that you're going to tell them, not because they don't trust you, but because most people lie about the situation. And so if you are in a position to proceed quickly, it would really pay you to make sure that you volunteer evidence of your financial situation, okay? So whatever form your savings or your deposit are in, provide evidence, not legal evidence, but just a screenshot of the account showing the balance, or share certificate if the money's in investments, or wherever it might be. Just show evidence that you do have your deposit ready, or explain where it is coming from and when. Just be honest, okay? Because if you say, look, we're not going to have our access to our deposit fund for 6 months, well, some agents will say, that's fine, 6 months is fine, and other agents will say 6 months is too long. Either way, it's in your interests not to have your time wasted by being shown stuff that you aren't in a position to buy. Because if you end up looking for something that you can't buy for 6 months and they've got another buyer that can buy it now, you're not going to get it anyway. So it doesn't pay to exaggerate your position, right? Next thing to have lined up is, of course, your mortgage in principle. You're not going to get a firm mortgage offer until there's a property that you're offering on and you've got the loan to value worked out. But what you can do is have a mortgage broker that you're lined up with who will provide you with evidence of the fact that you've been talking to a mortgage broker and you have got some sort of mortgage in principle. In other words, you're not a no-hoper or a time waster, because there are so many buyers who go out viewing properties just in the hope that they're going to get a mortgage when they haven't got any hope. And again, unfortunately, those people are just a waste of time for estate agents. And it's not estate agents' fault if you aren't in a position to get a mortgage, all right? So you can't blame them for that. Let's assume you've got your proof of your funds, your deposit funds. You've got a mortgage in principle lined up. You've got a relationship with a mortgage broker. And if you haven't got one and you want to use my guys that I work with, that are hand-picked ones I trust, just go to the link underneath this video to get in touch with them. But yeah, your deposit funds, your mortgage in principle, and if you really want to show willing and keenness to proceed quickly, then you should also have chosen your conveyancer. And that's a tricky thing, and it's a very important thing to get right, because if you choose the wrong conveyancer, they can lose you a deal, they can lose you a property. You want to find, ideally, a conveyancer who knows the local patch, who you can talk to on the phone, and someone that when you call, they have time to talk to you on the phone. You haven't got to commit to them, but you just got to have someone in mind that you think you want to use, so that you can say to the agent, got my mortgage in principle lined up, I've got my conveyancer already lined up, and I've got my proof of deposit funds, okay? Because what you want to be is, you want to be the buyer that the agent rings in advance of a new property coming on the market that they know you're going to like. Those are the buyers that get the best homes. So once you have succeeded in the goal of being taken seriously by an estate agent, which honestly is the first thing you need to do as a first-time buyer, right? Prove to them that you're not a time waster. There is a 90% chance that you are a time waster until you prove otherwise. And of course, they should consider all of you as not time wasters, unless you prove they are. But unfortunately, that is a too time-consuming process. It actually is more time efficient for them to assume that you are a time waster until you prove that you're not, okay? And again, don't blame the agents for this. It's not their fault that they have their time wasted again and again and again, and they are not paid for the services of initiating and educating you, okay? Because they think, well, hang on, there's 10 other agents. Why can't you go and use their time in telling you all stuff that you haven't bothered to research for yourself? Which brings us to the next point. So do your research. Do your research about the local market. Watch the market carefully for a while. See what's for sale. See what's not selling. See what is selling. Understand who your competition is as a buyer. Are you competing against landlords? Are you competing against cash buyers? Are you competing against older or younger? Are you competing against people that can move more quickly than you? Because you are almost always going to be competing for a property as a first-time buyer. And if you've done your research, that will come across to the agent when you're talking to them, because first of all, you won't ask the obvious, typical, naive questions that people who haven't done their research will ask if you've done your research, and an agent will be much more willing to spend time with you because they're not going to be having to spoon feed you the basics that you haven't worked out for yourself. And so if you've shown them that you've done your research and you've got your finances lined up, you are now in that category, potentially, of a hot applicant, a proceedable applicant, an applicant or a buyer who, if you find a property that you want to buy and your offer is accepted, they know you're going to be able to proceed quickly. You want to be the buyer that when the agent rings up the seller to say that you made an offer, they can say to the seller, this buyer is serious. They really like your property. They've got all their ducks in a row. They're lined up and ready to go. This is the buyer you want to take the offer from. Because if there's another buyer who's actually offering a bit more than you but isn't as ready, you're still going to be in a better chance of getting the property if you really have got yourself to the point where the agent believes that you are not a time waster. Now, the other thing that doing your research will accomplish is it will help you avoid the trap that most first-time buyers fall into, which is thinking you know what you want and thinking you know what you can afford when you can't, or when you can't afford what you think you can afford, okay? And again, most agents don't want to have their time taken up while you go through that learning process. And guys, just accept it, right? It's a fact. Most first-time buyers start out with too much optimism about what they can afford and end up having to be given a pretty bitter truth pill a few times before realizing, oh God, we're just not going to be able to afford what we thought we could, okay? And no agent wants to be the person to give you that message. So again, doing your research and being realistic will stand you in a better stead with an estate agent who's got a property that you want to buy. Let's assume that you have accomplished the task of establishing yourself as a hot applicant and you're now being shown properties. Now, so this is the viewing section, okay? You've done your registration with the agent. The agent believes that you're not a time waster and they're showing you properties. So you're now viewing. Now, number one, do not waste agents' time by being late for a viewing or not showing up for a viewing or cancelling a viewing at short notice. That is, apart from being really disrespectful of a fellow human being's time, it's immediately going to put you at a disadvantage. They're not going to ring you up for the next one. You know, they just won't. They cannot afford to have their time wasted. So don't be that buyer who mucks them around when the time comes for a viewing. Be prompt. Do your research. Have your questions ready, and make sure you do have questions ready, by the way, about the property. For example, what the costs are, and ask the agent in advance for this information. Okay, because a lot of agents, I mean, some will turn up really well prepared for your questions. The better agents will, but as a buyer, you've got no control over the quality of the agent that you're working with. So rather than catching them out on the day, send your questions in advance of the viewing. We would like to know, when we come to the viewing, we'd like to know, for example, what are the running costs of this property? Council tax band you should be able to see for yourself, but you know, what are the heating costs like? Are there any hidden costs? Are there any lease costs? maintenance, ground rent if you're buying a leasehold property, or any hidden charges on freehold stuff, or the running cost of the property if it's a freehold. All those kind of questions, anything you might want to know about, try and get those questions ready in advance, because at least then the agent will have a bit of time to find the answers for your questions and bring them to the viewing. Of course, there'll be some questions that you won't think of until you're at the viewing, and that's fine. But be a good viewer, if that makes sense, right? Don't just turn up late, unprepared, mucking them around, wasting their time and thinking, oh, it's okay, they're only an estate agent, we can waste their time. It's just disrespectful. And if you do like the property, you will not be in a good position to have your offer taken seriously, okay? You don't want to waste agents' time at any point. So be prepared for your viewings, turn up on time, and then most importantly, what agents really value from someone that's viewed a property is carefully considered feedback after the viewing. Feedback on what you thought of the property. Now this will do two valuable things for the agent that also help you. Number one, it will help the agent better understand what you are really looking for if you tell them what you did like and what you didn't like about a property, okay? So a good agent will really appreciate that feedback from you, as it will help them get to know you and what you're looking for better. And secondly, after every viewing, the seller of a property wants to know, what did the buyer think, okay? And if you give the agent really thoughtful feedback on the property, they can give that feedback to the client, and it just helps oil the wheels all the way around, okay? So it costs you nothing to give that feedback. It's extremely helpful to the agent for many reasons. So always give feedback on a viewing. I mean, if you want to give the feedback immediately after viewing outside the property to the agent, that's great. But even better is to do it in a text message or an email, probably the next day after you've slept on it, and let them know what you thought. Same day, next day, doesn't matter. But do always give agents your feedback when you viewed a property, okay? You are helping them in their job. You're helping them understand what you want better, and you will be much more likely to be granted a viewing on the next property that comes along. You're going to be more likely to get invited to view the next property that's suitable for what you're looking for. And most importantly of all, you're more likely to be offered properties that you really like. Okay, so turn up on time, have your questions ready, always give feedback after viewings. All right, that's the next part. So that's section 2. Section 1 is not being a fucking time wasting bastard. Section 2 is being a good viewer, turning up on time, thoughtful questions and thoughtful feedback, right? So that's part 2. Part 3 is now we're getting to the point where you like a property and you want to make an offer. This is really making this video easier, by the way. I'm sure that you will have a lot more questions after you've watched this video from viewings that you've been on. And please put the questions in the comments below, or find me on my social channels anywhere. If you just search Moving Home with Charlie on your favorite social channel, or on Linktree, you've got a link to all my socials and my website and everything there. Okay, but let's get to the third out of 4 parts, okay? The fourth part being progressing the deal to completion. So number 3 is your offering, and presumably you're offering because you want to have your offer accepted. It's amazing how many people make offers, have the offer accepted, and then change their mind. And I don't think anyone does that on purpose, but that is a sign of buyers who haven't really thought things through, okay? And it's a flaky offer, and it's a waste of everybody's time. Now, it does happen for honest reasons, and don't worry if that does happen, but try and avoid doing that. Don't just offer because you think you like it and you need to buy somewhere and it's kind of in your budget and you think it'll work okay. Ask yourself the question, if your offer is accepted, are you going to be thrilled and excited? Yeah, our offer is accepted, we can get that property. Or are you going to go, oh, we weren't actually accepting, we weren't expecting our offer to be accepted, and now it's been accepted, we're not actually sure we want to buy it. Think that through before you place your offer. But when it comes to making the offer, this is how you should do it, right? You've got 3 steps to making the offer. Number 1 is formulating the offer, working out how much to offer on a property, okay? Now, this is the question I think I probably get asked most often by people sending me private messages. This is the house we like, we're not sure what to offer, what should we offer? Now, I can never advise you on that, personally on the actual amount, because it is a personal choice. It's not just about the value of the property. It's affected by a lot of personal considerations of your own as well. But when I say formulate your offer, I am talking about coming up with the maximum price you are comfortable paying for that property. Maximum price. It is, if you're buying a home, right? This is advice just for people who are buying a home. This is not the advice I would give an investor or a buy-to-let landlord or someone like that, okay? This is advice I'm giving someone who has found a property that they want to live in and wants to secure that property and doesn't want to risk losing it to someone else. And this piece of advice came to me from my lifelong best friend years ago, before I even got into this industry, when he was working as an estate agent. And he said to me, the number of buyers who make an offer too low, it gets rejected. The seller then accepts someone else's offer, and that buyer says, oh, we would have paid that much. And I say, well, why didn't you offer that in the first place? And you don't want to lose out on a home for the sake of trying to save a few £1,000 that actually you didn't need to save. And this is why I advise against going in low and then expecting to bid up. That's what agents expect you to do, and that's what sellers, they think there's going to be a haggle, right? And the trouble is, when it comes to a haggle, you will almost always be out-haggled because the agents do it for a living and they're professionals at it, okay? And if you end up in the haggling, they will play psychological tricks on you because they're working for the seller and their job is to get the maximum price, and they will often succeed in getting you to overpay. You cannot blame an estate agent for doing that. Their job is to get the maximum price for their client's property. And one of the ways to avoid this is that before you even get into an offer dialogue, you need to ask yourself the question, what is the maximum price we're comfortable paying for that property as a home to live in? Maximum, which means that if it's rejected, you won't offer any more. I cannot get over how many people think they followed my advice, made an offer that they thought was their maximum offer, and then when it's rejected, go, oh, should we put another £5,000 on? It wasn't your maximum then, was it? And you're just going to end up in the haggle, and now you're not being taken seriously when you say that the offer that you made was your maximum comfortable offer. So only you can work out what this amount is. It's what is that property in that situation, in that location, worth to you in your situation, for your life needs, for your moving needs, for your financial needs, for your job security, for your risk profile, all of those things. Only you can work out that number, all right? It's not about what the property is worth. It's about what it's worth to you. And it's only about what it's worth to you. And unless you're someone who's got surplus excess funds and you don't mind overpaying for a property, which is fine, and there are people who are in that position, and you know that's great if you're in that position and you just don't care about overpaying because you want to secure the property, well then you know what to do. It's fine, just offer whatever you need to offer. But if you're not in that situation, and if your finances are limited, then it's really important that you don't overextend yourself. That can be a massive life mistake. You must be prepared to walk away. I've done a video about how to offer on a property and how to renegotiate a property. Look that up in my YouTube channel. I'll put links to that actually below as well. But work out your offer, your maximum comfortable offer before you deliver it to the agent, okay? And don't worry about what they're going to think of your offer. This is the other question I get all the time, which is, we're really worried about offending the agent or the seller. Why? Why are you worried about offending it? Does that mean that you would actually overpay just to not offend them? Come on, guys. You've got to think about it. This is your money, your commitment, your long-term commitment, your future home. You should never be worried about offending anybody, okay? You should feel stone cold about working out your maximum comfortable price and saying, that's my maximum comfortable price. Okay? You know, if it offends them, it offends them. They'll get over it. Don't worry. They'll just ignore you and move on to the next one. And yes, some of your low offers are going to be met with offence, but normally only because the seller's got unrealistic expectations, or they may get a bigger offer from somewhere else. Okay? So work out the maximum comfortable price you are prepared to pay to secure that home. Now, in certain market conditions, that might be over asking price. Okay? And if you were to do that because you can comfortably afford it and you know that's a maximum comfortable price, start with that offer. Because what you will do is you will sidestep the whole bidding process of getting other people as well, possibly. It'll improve your chances of getting it if there are other people interested. Just make the offer you're comfortable making and be prepared to walk away if it's rejected. Because as often as not, in a buyer's market, when you make an offer that's significantly below the asking price but no one else is offering, they will come back to you later and you may well get it. I've had people that I've already advised for whom that has happened. Their offer was rejected, the agent laughed, the seller was offended, all the above, and lo and behold, 6 weeks, 7 weeks later, the agent rings back and says, is that offer still available? Okay, so just remember that. Do not be intimidated by the agent's reaction or being laughed at or offending the seller. That's all irrelevant. It's irrelevant. Just expect it. It doesn't matter. That's the agent's job, is to make you feel intimidated into offering more. You got to rise above that and just disregard the guff, as I say. Okay? So when you have formulated your offer, never make it on the day. Never be too keen, okay? Never get so excited on a viewing and say to the agent, oh my God, we're going to offer. Because they will use that against you, right? What you say can and will be used against you in property negotiations. You've seen a property you like. You want to make an offer on it. Go home, sleep on it. Formulate your offer. Work out your maximum comfortable price, the price that you will not pay more than, the price that you will walk away if it's rejected, and then send that offer by email to the agent, simply stating that the reason for this offer is because that is the maximum price you are comfortable paying for that property. This is exactly how I bought my first property, by the way. It was on for £35,000 in Brighton in the 90s. I offered £23,500 because that is all I had. And they came back and said, 25,000? And I said, no, 23,500 is all I can afford. It's that or nothing. It's that or I walk away. And they accepted it. Make your offer, keep calm, walk away, be patient, be prepared for them to come back to you after they've rejected it, okay? And hopefully, you might have your offer rejected 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, but roughly speaking, on average, 1 in 10, because you're going to get better at offering as you do it each time, you will have your offer accepted, okay? Now, if you're watching this and it's a raging market going up really steeply, obviously, that's a different scenario. You're still going to be careful not to overpay in that market, okay? But now, let's assume that your offer is accepted. Congratulations, exciting stuff. You're now into the final stage, which is the sales progression. Now, this is, if you are in a chain, especially if the property you're buying is being sold by someone that's having to find a new home before they can move out of their existing home, these are circumstances outside your control and outside the agent's control. And this is where really good agents and really good conveyancers are worth their weight in gold. They will help hold these deals together. At that stage of the process, you've had your offer accepted. You need to be as proactive as possible as a buyer. Okay? By doing that, you reduce the chances of being gazumped, because the quicker you can exchange, the less the chance of being gazumped. You reduce the chances of the deal falling through for other reasons, because if you delay too long, the seller might take another buyer anyway. But at the same time, you should not be afraid of respectfully setting some deadlines of your own for the seller if they're taking too long to find a new home to move to, which can be the case. And it's not necessarily their fault, but if you respectfully establish your time limit and say, if we cannot move within this time frame, we will be forced to look for someone else to buy, then at least the seller knows where they stand. All right? But be communicative, be cooperative, do all the paperwork, help your conveyancer, do everything you can to speed the process along, to improve your chances of securing your first home. Okay, guys, so let's wrap that up. To be a first-time buyer, you have to not be a fucking time-wasting bastard. Also FTB. Okay, so prove that you're not a fucking time-wasting bastard by doing your research, by having proof of finances or proof of mortgage in principle ready, and respecting the fact that the agent's job is to get the maximum price for the seller, and that agents have their time wasted 90% of the time, so don't be one of those 90%. Be one of the 10% that doesn't waste the agent's time, okay? Be prepared for the viewings and always give feedback after your viewings. And if it gets to offer the stage, formulate your offer, take your time, submit it in writing the next day. Don't offer low and expect to haggle up. Just go in with your maximum comfortable price to begin with if you're securing a home, rather than risking losing that home by going in low and just hoping that you get it and then kicking yourself when you lose that to someone else. And then be as proactive as possible when it comes to the sales progression stage, which is after you've had your offer accepted and before you get to exchange. I hope that was helpful, guys. There's lots of other first-time buyer advice out there, and go and look for it wherever there is a reputable source. I hope that this advice is advice you may not have heard elsewhere and is useful to you. And if it is, I'd be grateful if you shared it with anyone else that you know that's looking to buy a home. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye for now, and best of luck in your hunt for a home.